Okay, so today I'm going to go over how I set up my quick notes in Notion. And also what makes quick notes, what makes them efficient and not so efficient, and also what's the purpose of them? At what point would you use them, and at what point wouldn't you use them? So quick notes generally are quick and shouldn't have too much friction. You don't want a whole lot of properties and tags to fill out upon each addition. As well, you kind of want to be able to pick up your phone or your tablet and easily access these notes as well. So there are three general purposes for quick notes, in my opinion. One is using quick notes as an input tool into your workspace. The output would be something like a dashboard for focused notes, like for medicine or history or whatever. You're using the quick notes to just quickly jot something down, and later you will direct those notes or reference those notes into a dashboard that is more focused. Another way to use quick notes is sort of in an unfiled way, like a junk drawer of miscellaneous notes that have no definitive place in the system. Also, I think a really common use for quick notes are for ideas, brainstorming, fleshing out quick thoughts. The last use is sort of disposable elements like shopping lists. In this tutorial, I'm going to try to grab all of those elements and put them into one dashboard. I'm going to try to jam a lot of ideas into a very simple template. So the goal for this build is to create something that is simple, that is easy to navigate, that allows for quick tagging, and is Webclipper friendly. So there is a lot to go through. Hopefully it won't take too long for the sake of future me editing. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so first let's do sort of an obvious one. Let's make a quick shopping list right at the top. And we can go / to do and just have these here. Cool. I'm actually going to put this into a toggle. I think that might look nice. So put the shopping list in here. Maybe turn it gray. All right, cool. Now let's put in an inline table. And what I want to do, actually before we go into this, I want to put this to default. I'm going to call this quick.notes. Let's just delete all of these. So this table is generally going to be pretty straightforward. Not too many bells and whistles. We're just going to have the name of the note here. I do want tags, but I also want type. For now, I'm going to make that a select property. Type, name, tag. And I also want date. All right. Up here is a links page, and we're going to go through that a little bit later and what that is for. That's for the web clipping element. So let's just put test 1, test 2, test 3, so we have something to work with. So why do I have two separate tag properties? I think for most people, honestly, for quick notes, you're just going to have one tag property. It's going to be a singular tagging system. Whereas, say, you tag something like productivity or happiness, something like that. For this example, I want to show you how you can sort of automate, and I say that with air quotes, where you can make it a lot easier to automatically add tags for notes that have more than one tag. So if you're really into tagging and you want everything to be categorized in very specific places, I want to show you how you can still make the process pretty frictionless and easy with more than one tagging system. Let's delete these for now. And I'm going to go into what type of tags you might use. So these are three types of tags that I think are pretty common. You have the origin tag, that is where the note is coming from. Is it coming from a podcast, a documentary, a conversation, a memory, a book? Whereas action tags are telling you what you're doing with the note. Are you going to file it somewhere later? Is it an unfiled miscellaneous, like I said before, sort of a junk drawer note? Is it something you're going to discard after use? Also, in this could be a tag that tells you where the note is going to go, like a specific dashboard you want to send it to. Then there's concept tags. That's sort of your average use of a tag. Productivity, could be about science, the note could be about happiness, all of that. So in this database, you could call it a dual tagging database. We can use 2 of 3 of these tags and still have as little friction as possible. We'll get into how to combine these tags in the most efficient way later, but I just wanted to show you that. So in this example, let's go with the type being an action and the tag being origin. So I think that's like the easiest to do. Let's say one is to file later / favorite. So this is an important note that has a purpose in this system. Another type is, let's call it unfiled / miscellaneous. Let's do another one maybe for ideas. What I use ideas for in my quick notes page is to tell me that I want this note to go over to my task management. I want to flesh out this idea into content. Let's just fill these out here. And then tagging is going to be origin. So here are some examples of origins. You have podcast. Make sure that's capital P. You make it orange. Also, maybe you're getting this note from a documentary that you watched, maybe from a video online, the news, from a book, or if you don't really know the origin and it's just something from memory, I would do memory. All right. You could also call this origin and action. Now let's just implement some dates. Let's just assume these are consecutive days. And I would actually sort this by date ascending, or rather descending. So now that we have this, we know what we want to do with tagging. Let's create some filtered views. So let's say I want to add a note from a podcast I was listening to, and I want the date to automatically update. I don't really want to plug that in manually. So let's say enter podcast note. Now in filter, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to origin contains podcast, and the date is today. So what this is going to do is when I add a new entry in this view, it's going to give me the podcast as a tag already and today's date. All I have to fill in is the action and the name of the note. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of these notes in the same fashion off camera, and then we'll come back to how to automate this action select in this view as well. So off camera, I went in and duplicated that podcast note filter, and what I did was I went in and just adjusted the filter for each view name. So documentary here for enter documentary note, enter news note, the filter would say contains news and date is today. So I have one more to put in here, and that's that memory origin. So I'm just going to duplicate this, rename it to enter memory note, and change this filter to origin contains memory. And like I said before, add new. All I need to do is go in and put in the action tag and the name of the note. Let's figure out how we can also automate that action type tag. To do this, I'm going to change all of these views to board view. I'm going to hide this here so it's flush against the side. And what I'm going to do, it's already here actually, is make sure this is grouped by, and you can do that by going down here to group by, make sure it's grouped by action, not origin. So this filter is still here. Origin contains memory and date is today. So whenever I put something under to file later / favorite, everything in this note will be filled out the way I want it to. Have the origin is memory and the action is to file later. Now all I have to do is put in the title of the note and start writing the notes. So this is the easiest, sort of most efficient way to go about a dual tagging quick notes page. Now, if you're not a fan of this for some reason, I'm going to show you another way you can do this. That actually might be more compatible if you are really into using Webclipper. So I'll go off camera and change all these to board view later. It's not really necessary. First, let's create a gallery view. Actually, let's call it cards. Now all of our notes are in these card views, but I don't really want to see these notes. What I want to see in these notes are my action tags. So this is purely kind of an aesthetic choice, but what I want to do is, in this scenario, delete this action property for now. And instead, I'm going to create 3 different cards for those action types. And then I'm going to nest notes into those cards. I'll show you what I mean. So what you're going to have is a card that is a type. So let's create a card for filed notes / favorited. What I want to do is create a notes property, relate it to itself. So I'm going to find quick notes. Let's sync both ways so I can see the parent. Let's call this parent and throw this up here. Now in this filter, what I'm going to do is go to parent, and I want to make sure that it is empty. I'm going to create another card called miscellaneous and another one called ideas. Let's delete these for now. So now we no longer need that property for action tags. We just have the origin, the date, and the notes that will be filed into this tag. So what we're doing here obviously is taking that action type and we are nesting an origin tag inside. And what I mean by nesting an origin tag is we're nesting that filter we just did before. We're going to use a self-referential database that is filtered by origin tags like we just did with enter documentary note for today. That also includes the tag documentary. And we're going to do that within these cards, these action cards. And it'll basically do the same exact thing I just showed you with that board view, just in a different way. We're just viewing it differently. So at the end of the day, when we create a new note, all of those properties will be filled out. Other ways to do this is to make the origin of the note the card and the concepts inside. What I do is I have the action type like we have here, but I have concepts inside. You could also do concepts outside and actions inside, whatever works for you. This is probably the most efficient, this action and origin. And the reason for that is because you're pretty limited with the amount of origins a note is coming from. I mean, I can only count 7 or 8 places I'm getting knowledge from. Same with action. There's only a limited amount of things I want to do with notes. So when it comes to adding new elements, new tags, new filtered views, this is good because I won't be adding them very often, and everything can pretty much be set up for me from the beginning. With concepts, it's trickier. You're constantly adding new concepts. I know I use concepts, but I also don't create those extra filters. I don't mind going in and selecting a concept tag. But it's really up to you. It's really up to what you're using this for. I mean, if you're using it for a knowledge base, concepts are useful. But it does cut down on efficiency for quick notes. So let's make this work. First, I kind of want to spruce this up a little bit. I want to create some cover images. So let's call this one here starred. And let's give it a star emoji and call it starred. And I'm going to turn this into heading 1. Command-Shift-5 for Max will give you a little square that you can adjust. Gonna go like that. Drag it into my page, let it load in. It's a little crooked, but that's fine. Put it right in there, and we have a little cover image. Next one I want to do is unfiled. Do the same thing. Reposition it so it's kind of even as best I can. And then call the last one ideas. All right, cool. Now we have our 3 separate cards. What I'm going to do is pretty much what we did before, except I'm going to link this table to itself inside this page, or link to database, and I'm just going to go quick.notes and clean this up a little bit. I don't think I really need the date in there. Don't need notes. Let's do origin. Or actually, yeah, let's do date and origin. So what I'm going to do here is filter it. And I'm going to say that this, I don't want these in here. I don't want our type cards. I just want the notes inside. So I want to make sure parent contains filed notes. I also want to make sure that the date is today. So there we go. All I have to do is put in the name of the note and put in this origin. And within filed notes, we have test 1. Now let's do what we did to the table. Create another view. Let's call this one enter podcast note. Filter it so that parent contains filed notes, and date is today, and the origin contains podcast. So if I want to enter podcast note into filed notes, go to this view and I would just click here, and then everything would be filled out. So that's basically what I'm going to do with everything. Off camera, I will put in the rest of the views for the origins. And then when I'm done, I'm just going to copy and paste this into the other 2 cards so I don't have to do it again from scratch. This is today, so I might call this today's notes. Might also want to do a view for all notes. And in all notes again, I'm going to make sure those the parent is filed notes so that those type cards don't appear. Now let's say you have a 3 tagging system in your Quick Notes for some reason. You are really using this Quick Notes page. What I would do is with the tagging property that has the least amount of elements, create cards like this. Go in, create a self-referential database by filtering to the parent note, and then do that trick I just showed you with the board view. You can sneak a 3rd tag inside. So it'd be 2 tags within the self-referential database, and then on top of that, you'll be able to automate this parent note. So let's go over to my personal Quick Notes to show you how this looks. What I use these start notes for are to reference for my dashboard. So I don't move any notes from my Quick Notes to anywhere else. That's not really the purpose. It's mostly just to use in reference to other notes, and they are purposeful. Or I want to create a dashboard in the future that is on this subject. So really all I have are tags, the name of the note, and the date. My tags, as you can notice, is not a select property. It's actually a relation to a concept cloud. And if you want to know more about concept clouds, I'll leave a link down below to one of my videos discussing it with my dashboard inspo video. But it's basically the same thing with filters. I'm going to go in and say parents contains reference for and blah, blah, blah. And if I did want to, I don't really use the enter for today for each origin or each concept tag here like I did in the example, because I just have too many concept tags. So I just have one for enter note today, all notes, and entering a Webclipper for this month. And we're going to go into how that works in a moment. Here are my ideas. I only have one. I started using this at the beginning of this month. So I have enter idea. In the same fashion, I have history video essays. I'm thinking about doing video essays about history. So it's pretty simple. When I want to go in and create a note that I know is pretty important and I want it to go somewhere, I'll go into here, go down here, and I'll just go into the view that says enter note. And I know that if I go in and enter, the date will show up, and I just have to put in the title. And yes, manually, I will put in my tag. Let's look at an example of using this Webclipper. So let's say I wanted this to go into an unfiled note. I want this article to come into here because I think it's interesting. I want it to go into my Quick Notes. I want it to be like a note. However, I also want it to go into that links database. I kind of want them both there at the same time. Let's save this. Let's save this to miscellaneous. And it will go right to the page. Here it is. So what I want to do is I could just drag it into here and it will appear in my miscellaneous, but here's the thing. First, what I'm going to do is create a property called month. We're going to relate it to that .links database. Let's create another view, call it clip this month. So I want an entirely separate view for Webclipper stuff. I don't really want it to mix with everything else, but I still want it in my Quick Notes. Now the filter in here is going to be pretty similar. I'm just going to have parent contains miscellaneous, and the date is today, and I also want the month. Alright, so before we get into that, let's create month cards in links. So I'm just going to go August 2020, call this Quick Notes, create another one for September 2020, and what this is doing is I'm separating my web clipping links into months. So I'm separating notes into separate compartments wherever I can. So April, so it doesn't become overwhelming. Why in the world did I put March? Now if we go back into miscellaneous and into this clip view, first of all, I kind of want this to say enter clip because this is not all clips this month, it's just enter clip. Go back into that filter and make sure month contains August 20th. Now if I were to slide this in here, all I would have to do is click the origin, which really, I could turn this into a board view and I wouldn't even have to do that. Maybe make a new origin for Webclipper. And I'm going to hide all of these so that only Webclipper appears. Now everything's going to be filled out for Webclipper. Literally everything. Now if I were to click on August 2020, it would show up in August 2020. And all I had to do, let's delete this, do this again, save this page to miscellaneous, and then drag up under Webclipper. And again, we're automatically linked into the links database, and we did not have to go and do that manually. It is automatically appearing in two separate databases. And in here, actually, you don't have to have just a list. You could also make these fun gallery view and put some cover images in here. So before I leave, I want to show you kind of how I use this general setup for my own workspace. I have my shopping list up here, and everything's set up pretty much the same exact way, except my tags, like I said before, is going to a concept cloud. In here, I just have enter note for today, enter clip, and all notes, because right now, like I said, I started this month, so I don't have that many notes to deal with. So I'm not really adding too many filters. I have too many concepts to deal with, so I'm not doing the enter specific concept for today thing. I'm okay with just going in and doing it manually. As well, you might notice I have this date relation. This is actually going to a daily docs database, so daily documents. What I do is I put in the date, which is automatic from down here through the filter of date is today, but I also add in manually the date here. So if I go to all my notes, and I click on one of these, you'll see date August 25th. And if I click through to here, I should go to my daily documents. And I try to connect any database that has a date property to this, or I'm trying to start to do that. What I did was I basically pre-filled a database for every day between August 2020 and December 2021. So if I go to August 2020, it will have all of the dates down here in August. So all of these, this is the entry name, are pre-filled. By the way, this is a template that I have for purchase. I'll leave it down below if you want to. So what I'm doing with my daily documents is in August, I have the date, I have the day of the week, and this is coming directly from my mood tracker. So I didn't really know what to do with the title. I didn't want to put in there like the actual date, like August 17th, 2020, because I thought it was a little bit redundant since I already have a date property. So I just put in the day of the week and just left it at that. Good thing I did, because now I have use for this. When I connect my daily documents to this database, I have the day of the week already up there. So when I fill out a day in my mood tracker and I put the date, I just come down here to daily docs and put a matching date inside. From there, I roll up the mood's positivity rate, which is basically taking this mood property here and returning if it is a positive or a negative mood. I also have a roll up over here, which is called the gist, basically why I'm feeling that mood that day, which is also a roll up. And then right here in the middle, I have my habits. So I have 6 habits every day I try to do. And then I have a little habit progress return where I take all of these habit properties and I divide it by 6 to get a percentage. If it is 100, I return these check marks. And then what I do with those quick notes, like I said, I relate them to this daily doc through that date property, and they'll show up here. So I'll see in my day, I'll see my mood, I'll see why I'm feeling a certain way, I will see all the quick notes I made that day. I'll also see everything I published that day. Now this is connected to my content calendar, and I'm replacing the date property entirely with a relation to this database. Same with history notes. I usually don't have a date property in history notes, so I just added this date property with a relation to here. So here I know not only my habits for the day or my mood, but I know exactly what I did, and I can just come to this page and see. It's sort of like creating a diary of sorts or a journal. I don't really like journaling, but I can see literally everything I did on each day inside my workspace. And I want to connect more things to this, so this is sort of a work in progress. So I tried to make it as simple as possible so that you can go in and kind of do a similar thing. But yeah, I hope this helped. I hope this made Quick Notes easier, and yeah, I'll leave all the links I mentioned down below. I'm gonna include that graph here into it, so you can kind of see where I'm coming from a little bit better. And I'll see you guys probably the end of the week. I'll see you then, and let me know how you are using Quick Notes in your Notion workspace. See you next time.